On a crisp Friday night in Tokyo, the neon lights of Shibuya pulsed with life. The air was filled with the chatter of revelers, the hum of traffic, and the beats of music pouring from countless bars and clubs. Among the sea of people stood Akio Blackwell, a 25-year-old man of mixed heritage. With his mocha-colored skin, sharp almond-shaped eyes, and an air of quiet confidence, Akio was accustomed to standing out in a crowd. But tonight, he would encounter a challenge he hadn't anticipated. Dressed in a sleek black blazer, crisp white shirt, and tailored trousers, Akio approached the entrance of a popular nightclub called Kyoka, renowned for its exclusivity and high-profile clientele. The club was a hotspot, frequented by celebrities, socialites, and Tokyo's elite. Akio had been looking forward to this evening, excited to unwind after a long week of meetings and negotiations. The line outside the club was long, with hopeful patrons chatting animatedly as they awaited their turn. But Akio didn't need to wait. He had a VIP reservation. As he approached the entrance, he smiled politely at the bouncer, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a stern expression. "Good evening," Akio said in fluent Japanese, handing over his ID and reservation details. The bouncer glanced at the documents, then at Akio, his expression hardening. He handed the papers back without a word. "Sorry, we're full," the bouncer said curtly. Akio blinked, momentarily taken aback. "That can't be right. I have a reservation under Blackwell. It should be in your system." The bouncer crossed his arms, his gaze narrowing. "I said we're full. Try somewhere else." Akio's smile faltered. He had dealt with subtle racism before, both in Japan and abroad, but rarely had it been so overt. "Is there a problem?" he asked, keeping his tone calm. The bouncer's lip curled. "This club has a certain image to maintain. We can't let just anyone in." The implication was clear. Akio's mixed-race appearance didn't fit the image the bouncer was referring to. He felt a surge of anger but forced himself to remain composed. "I see," Akio said, pocketing his ID. "Would you mind calling your manager? I'd like to speak with them." The bouncer smirked. "The manager doesn't have time to deal with people like you. Now move along." Akio's jaw tightened. He stared at the bouncer for a long moment, debating whether to press further. But then he nodded, turned on his heel, and walked away. Behind him, he could hear the bouncer muttering something to a colleague, followed by laughter. Akio didn't go far. Instead, he walked around the block to an unassuming side entrance. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "Hey, Haruka," he said when the call connected. "I'm at the club. Could you meet me by the service door?" A few minutes later, a petite woman with a clipboard and a headset emerged. Haruka was Kyoka's operations manager, and she greeted Akio with a warm smile. "Mr. Blackwell, welcome back," she said. "Is everything okay? Why are you at the service entrance?" Akio explained the encounter with the bouncer. Haruka's face darkened with anger. "Unbelievable," she muttered. "I'll handle this immediately." Haruka led Akio through the club's bustling interior, past the glamorous patrons and pulsating dance floor, to a private lounge on the upper level. From this vantage point, Akio could see the entire club. His club. As the majority owner of Kyoka, he had spent years building it into one of Tokyo's premier nightlife destinations. He prided himself on creating an inclusive space where people from all backgrounds could feel welcome. The irony of tonight's incident wasn't lost on him. "Stay here," Haruka said firmly. "I'll bring him up." Minutes later, the bouncer was escorted into the lounge by Haruka and another staff member. His confident demeanor faltered when he saw Akio seated on the plush leather sofa. "What's this about?" the bouncer demanded, though there was an edge of uncertainty in his voice. Haruka folded her arms. "This is Mr. Blackwell, the majority owner of Kyoka. Care to explain why you denied him entry?" The bouncer's eyes widened. He looked at Akio, then back at Haruka, struggling to process the revelation. I didn't know," he stammered. "I thought he was—" "Not good enough?" Akio interjected, his tone cold. "Because of how I look." The bouncer's face flushed. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry." Akio stood, his gaze piercing. "This isn't just about me. How many others have you turned away because they didn't fit your narrow idea of who belongs here? This club was built to celebrate diversity, not exclude it." The bouncer opened his mouth to respond but seemed to think better of it. He looked down, visibly uncomfortable. Haruka, Akio said, turning to her. You know what needs to be done. She nodded. Consider it handled. The bouncer's eyes widened in alarm. Wait, please. I need this job. And everyone who walks through those doors deserves to be treated with respect, Akio said firmly. Tonight, you failed at that. Two security staff stepped forward, gently but firmly escorting the bouncer out of the lounge. Akio watched him go, a mix of disappointment and resolve in his eyes. Later that evening, Akio stood on the balcony of the private lounge, gazing out at the city lights. Haruka joined him, handing him a glass of whiskey. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, she said softly. Akio took a sip of his drink. It's not the first time, and it probably won't be the last. But it's a reminder of why I do this. Spaces like this matter. They're a chance to challenge prejudices and bring people together. Haruka nodded. You've built something incredible here. Don't let one person's ignorance overshadow that. Akio smiled faintly. Thanks, Haruka. For everything. As the night wore on, the energy in the club remained electric. From his vantage point, Akio watched the diverse crowd below, dancing, laughing, and connecting. It was a living testament to the vision he had poured his heart into. And in that moment, he reaffirmed his commitment to ensuring Kyoka remained a place where everyone felt they belonged. The moral of the story echoed in Akio's mind. Never judge or mistreat someone based on appearances. True character runs deeper than skin, and a world that embraces its diversity is richer for it. Any day.